Hello and welcome to another edition of Washington Talks. I'm your host Ron King, and we are privileged to have as our guest today City Councilman of the City of Washington, Pennsylvania, Mr. Ken Wescott. Ken, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Glad that you could make it today. Ken, for the very few people around Washington that don't know you, let's tell them a little bit about yourself. Did you attend high school here in the city of Washington?
Well, yeah, Ron. I'm born and raised in the city of Washington. I went to Washington High School for 11 years, and I graduated from Immaculate Conception High School in 1980.
Okay, great. Ken, most guys like sports. When you attended Wash High, did you play any football, any basketball?
I played basketball at Washington High School, and then once I transferred to Immaculate Conception, I played baseball and basketball.
At Immaculate Conception?
Correct, yes.
They had a baseball team?
They had a baseball team, yes they did. I was a catcher on the team, so...
Oh, really?
Yes, we had a blast.
A lot of people don't even know that Immaculate... You know what?
No football team, but a baseball team.
But I can remember a couple of times Immaculate Conception did have a football team.
Yes, they did. They tried a couple of times.
They tried a couple of times. Yes. Obviously, with the smaller enrollment that they had,
a little tougher.
They didn't do that well. But they certainly gave it the old high school try.
Absolutely.
Ken, what and when was the first political office that you ran for?
I ran for Washington City Council in 1997.
What precipitated that? Why did you want to be a city councilman?
I think it was in my blood. My mother was active politically, and we had some issues with the Washington Hospital that I wasn't really happy with at the time. They built a helipad there right in the middle of our neighborhood, and it didn't seem like the reaction from city council at the time was the one that the group was looking for. So at that point, some of my friends said, you should run for city council. I did, and fortunately I was able to win.
You won first time out
yes.
in politics, and
yes,
the issue was that helipad on top
of the Washington Hospital. Exactly
making too much noise in your neighborhood.
Well, it's a life safety thing. We realized that, but there again at the time, we felt that it could have done the same thing somewhere else, save lives somewhere else. But we're okay with it now. We can live with the hospital. They're a great asset to the city of Washington.
Great. So you're the junior city councilman now, and as they say, the stuff flows downhill. Did they give you any menial jobs or tasks?
Well, I was in charge of the public buildings in Washington Park, and the park has 256 acres, so it's tough to take care of when you have 3 or 4 employees. So at the time, Diane Gillespie was the director of the parks, and she did a tremendous job, and we were able to get a lot of things done, and I enjoyed every moment of that working in the park.
So you were the overseer of Diane then?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
yes.
So was she the director of parks, or were you the director of parks?
Well, I'm the director of parks. She was the actual director running the park, and if I want to get it correctly, her name was Diane Smeichel. I think she had been married by then. But but there again, like I say, she actually oversaw the day-to-day operations of the park, and I was the director in charge of public buildings and parks.
Well, we have Washington Park, obviously. The people in the greater Washington area know that. But was she in charge of all the like smaller parks or playgrounds, or was that somebody else's venue?
No, that belonged to the county. That was under me. All the playgrounds, the parks, and as I say, the public buildings all funded the director of Parks and Recreation.
Okay, you were a city councilman for a while, and I guess the city councilman office is 4 years, correct?
Correct, 4 years.
Okay, but about 2 years into office, you decided to run for the mayor of Washington, is that correct?
I did, yes, correct.
Okay, and were you successful?
I was successful. I won, actually, lost in the primary as a Democrat. I won the Republican nomination and won as a Republican in the fall.
Okay, so you were mayor. Now, how many years were you mayor back then?
I served as mayor of the city of Washington from the year 2000 2008, 8 years.
Being mayor of a smaller town like the city of Washington must be just filled with all kind of problems. But in spite of all that, did you enjoy being the mayor?
Absolutely. There were great aspects of being the mayor, and there were obviously some, obviously trials and tribulations. But it's a small community, so you as the mayor of the city of Washington, everyone knows you. So you're accessible. No matter where you go, people want to talk about their issues in the community, and you understand that. But as I say, it's a smaller community, everyone knows you, and they feel comfortable coming up and talk to you and talking about their problems.
Well, I know you have always been accessible. I mean, we can find you on the streets of Washington
Sure.
and in the coffee
Sure.
shops and that sort of thing. But there are some people in political office who stay behind closed doors and put a secretary out front and say, "Don't bother me."
Well, I don't think it's the way to do it. I think you have to be accessible. I think need to be out front, and the people need to know that you're out there working for them. And that's, I think this mayor and council, I'll be honest with you, I've been on council since 1998, and this actually is the best mayor and council I've ever had the opportunity to work with.
Well, it certainly is peaceful. We don't hear all those stories of everybody arguing down in City Hall all the time like we used to.
Extremely cooperative, and everybody has the city of Washington at their best interest, that's for sure.
That is great. Ken, like many other small towns in the United States, and Washington, PA, certainly has its problems with aging buildings and aging infrastructure, and yet in spite of all that, many new businesses have been locating in the business district of Washington, PA. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think that people look and see that the cooperation of mayor and council has been very positive, so they look at the investment. I think the history of the city of Washington adds to that, and the location at 70 and 79 is very positive. So I think they've seen some of the major investments in the city and decided, hey, this is a great place to set up shop, and we're glad they're here, that's for sure.
Yeah, we are indeed at the crossroads of 70 and 79. Our county commissioners way back when, Mazza and Flynn, and I forget the other gentleman's name, but they tried their very, very best. Those highways were not going to initially intersect through Washington, I heard.
Correct.
And they did that, and the malls followed, and people moved to the suburbs, and on and on. So that really, created a lot of new business where the highways met. The new businesses here in Washington, could you name just a few of them, Ken?
We've been fortunate. We have the new Washington Brewery on Maiden Street. We have Cinco Bacello down on South Main Street. We have the Red Pump Distillery on Main Street. We have the Liberty Pole Distillery on Maiden Street. I'm trying to think, the President's Pub.
Yeah.
Mark Kennison and his father own that, and they've also purchased the VIP, and we're looking forward to working with them to develop that as a venue for entertainment in downtown Washington.
That is great. A couple of new coffee shops. The Table came into downtown Washington. I believe the Harmony House Cafe that you and I have certainly had coffee. And
I will tell you, Harmony House has great sandwiches, so if you get a chance, make sure you go there. They got great sandwiches.
I know. I eat lunch in there a lot of time. Kudos to the Harmony House.
Absolutely.
And Mike up there on the grill. Ken, we certainly would be remiss if we didn't mention the Main Street Farmers Market and the impact it's having on commerce in the Uptown portion of Washington. The farmers market truly has been a blessing to the city of Washington.
Absolutely. Since 2001, when it started, Suzanne Gagliardo was the Main Street manager, and Suzanne Ewing and Kim Lucchini were very instrumental in the start of that. In fact, when I was mayor of the city of Washington, I only gave away 3 keys in the time I was mayor. One went to Suzanne, one went to Suzanne Lucciani, excuse me, and the other went to Heinz Ward when he visited us. So that has been a continuing asset to the city of Washington, and it's one of those things that for the last 18 years, it's been a blessing to downtown Washington.
Now, initially, the farmers market did not have a roof over it.
Correct.
And so a lot of rain and a lot of heat got the customers and the vendors. But eventually we were successful in getting a roof over the farmers market, and it makes them much nicer now, doesn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's an asset to the city of Washington, without a doubt. We now have this venue in downtown Washington where we have the farmers market every Thursday now, and we can now hold events down there that are out of the weather. So it's been a great asset. We have the Whiskey Rebellion coming up in the next month, and it'll be held down at the farmers market and at the pavilion, and it's just, as I say, it's been a great asset.
Nice venue for some music. Some of the Pittsburgh bands and local bands have played there, and it's just a nice atmosphere, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's open air. Like I say, when you come down there, there's food vendors, there's other vendors down there. You can get something to eat, enjoy the entertainment, and it's just a great night out, that's for sure.
I love the fruit down there, and my wife always tells me, Ron, be careful about the eating of all the fruit. It could lead to you eating vegetables.
I think you're safe, Ron.
Ken, another nice thing that seems to be happening in the Uptown area of Washington is the current renovation of the old trust building that sits catty corner right across the street from the courthouse. What's going on with this renovation?
Well, currently they're going to add, I believe it's 26 housing units in there along with business units. So at this point with the renovations, it's about a $17–18 million investment in downtown Washington. It's going to create some living opportunities and some new job opportunities in downtown Washington. So it's a great opportunity for an older aging building for a major investment, and obviously it's a great investment in the city of Washington.
Okay, so there are going to be, say, apartments in there.
Correct.
Will they be primarily senior citizen type apartments,
No, I think,
or low income?
I think they're basically going to be affordable housing is what they're calling it. So I would say yes, so it's affordable housing. Right now, the developers, Trex, have done this in Pittsburgh. It's been very successful in Pittsburgh, and we're hoping to follow suit here in the city of Washington.
Okay, and you said there'll be some offices in there too?
Correct,
like
there'll be office space.
Where before, I know way back in the old days, a lot of attorneys, doctors were in the trust building. It would be nice if it would come back to at least a bit of its former glory, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Ken, when people travel through the Uptown area of Washington, they can't help but notice new grassy areas where aging buildings once stood. One very noticeable spot is the area on the corner of East Chestnut and Main, where way back when Soul Mints and Hanover Shoes used to have retail stores.
Right.
Are there any plans now in the works to make that area look a bit nicer and more pleasant?
The plan right now is working through the CDC. The Citywide Development Corporation has received some funding to develop a park there, and we're going to work with the Washington County Redevelopment Authority to work on a facade plan for the exterior wall that you can see now. It's an ugly sight when you come into the city of Washington. We want to beautify that area and obviously create a more attractive entrance into the city of Washington. So working with those couple entities, I think we can get it accomplished.
Okay, so you're going to put like a wall or a facade there,
right,
so that you won't see the exterior portion of the buildings that are there now. And you say a park, so you're going to have maybe a couple park benches in there, and
I can foresee that, a walking path, some benches or something along those lines. We just, as I said, we just want to beautify that area because it's been such an eyesore for so long. We just want to take advantage of the funds that we can receive. We've also, in accordance with that, we've purchased the property behind that. It used to be the old chiropractor's office. City of Washington now owns that. We're going to demo that property, and that'll give us the entire lot to work with.
so that's going to be nifty that on one of the major intersections in downtown Washington, PA, we're going to have ourselves a little park there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now the ultimate goal is not to have it be a park, which is nice. We'd like to see somebody develop and maybe put a rateable building up there. That's the goal. So at this point, but we want to make sure that Washington has an attractive corridor.
Good. Ken, you just can't notice, if anybody lives in Washington or used to, they know about the old dilapidated North Main Hotel that used to be on North Main Street. It's been torn down now, and a grassy lot sits right there. What are the plans for that area?
Well, currently, the property next door has been torn down also. The Zenners owned that property, and we think that there's someone who's been negotiating or at least talking to them on maybe purchasing the property and developing something on that site. That's the goal. The goal would like to see something, a building go up or some kind of development there, whether it be housing or a commercial building. But I don't think you can do with one lot. You need both lots to really make it an attractive for development.
That is good. So there is potential there.
There's potential there, yes.
Ken, it's very obvious that several old buildings in the Uptown area have already been torn down. We're talking about that, and those lots are awaiting redevelopment. But there are a couple of major buildings that still look like they have to come down yet. What is the current status of the old Yorkin building on the corner of West Chestnut and Main that still stands?
We're doing obviously following up to find out the true ownership of the property. It's not really clear. But in July, the city mayor and council will take action on the demolition of that property. So that's down to the Hahn building. That's down to the building next to Shorty's.
Yeah, it goes all the way around the corner, all the way down to Shorty's. Exactly. Is that all one building, or is that several buildings?
It's a couple buildings, actually. It's the building from the corner down to Hahn's building, Attorney Hahn's building, is the old Miller property, and then Hahn's building, and then Shorty's Hot Dog. we're looking at the building that leads up to Hahn's building as the demolition. And currently, as I said, Mayor and Council are taking action on it next month to let out the bids for the demolition of that property.
Okay, when you walk downtown, you can see that there's a fence around that particular building right now. Is that building safe? Is it safe to walk on the sidewalk there?
Yeah, we had a structural engineer come in back in January to look at the building. He determined that the walls were structurally sound. We had Channel 11 News when they were here put a drone over top of the building and filmed the roof for us. There is a large hole in the roof of the building. Working with the police chief and the fire chief, we determined that for taking a proactive stance towards public safety, we just felt it would be better if we put some fencing around that. Not that there's a concern the building's going to fall down, but there again, like I said, we just want to be proactive in public safety.
Okay, now once you get that building down, you're not going to put another park over there,
no,
right?
again, it becomes you start. Hopefully, we start working with some type of developer or a developer prior to us demoing that property. We obviously it's not. We don't want to put the cart before the horse. Have another vacant lot in downtown Washington. So hopefully, we can work with somebody who can see the vision for downtown Washington and see the vision we have for downtown Washington and want to make an investment there.
Okay, Ken, there are probably a few local people in the city of Washington that who don't know about the infamous Montgomery building on Main Street that literally collapsed in July 2017, leaving one lady pinned under the falling debris for over 8 hours. And now, 1 year later, a portion of that building is still standing. Why hasn't the remainder of that building been removed?
Well, the status for a long time was litigation between the insurance companies, the crane company, and the city of Washington, and just conversation between the three. At this point, we found out, the mayor and council found out that the owner of the crane company has now since purchased the property. So we need to work with him or his lawyers to determine what his plans are for the rest of the demolition of that property, or what his plans are for the property. We don't know at this point what they are.
Do you think it's safe to assume that since he is the one that did the demolition work on the previous portions of the building, that since he owns it now, he may come in and knock down the rest of it?
Well, you would hope that. I don't know that to be the case. You would hope that is what he does, but we don't know that to be what his plans are. At this point, we're not quite sure, but until we have some conversation, then we'll know better.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a great idea to guess what's going in there once that building is knocked down, because he owns it, and whatever he wants to do with it legally, that's what'll happen, right?
Correct. So I mean, it's just a matter of what's the best use, highest and best use for the property after the fact. And if he owns the property, he determines that. If it's another owner, then maybe you can work with them to determine what the use of that property is going to be.
Ken, a lot of people are rooting for the Uptown area of the city to come back and prosper. Do you personally think that Uptown Washington will ever be what it once was back in the 50s and 60s?
No, I don't think downtown Washington will ever be what it is, but I think it has the potential to be a lot better than what it is. Or what it was, I should say.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I apologize. So we know what it was. It was a booming downtown. It was a booming area when we had the glass industry, the steel industry. We were up to 25,000, 30,000 people back in the 50s and 60s. Now we're down to around 13,000, 14,000 residents in the city of Washington.
So we only have 1/3 of the population that we had back in the 50s and 60s.
Correct. And there's a lot of dynamics in the city. I mean, 55% of the people in the city are low income to moderate income. 30% are over 65 fixed income. So it becomes, how do you best, without overtaxing putting the burden of taxing on the taxpayers, what is the best way to utilize your money and make the city the best it can be? We've, I think, started that. I think Scott Putnam came in as our new mayor, and I think there's been a new era of excitement in the city of Washington, reinvestment in the city of Washington.
I think so too. We haven't had that many new businesver coming in a long time.
So just to name 4 or 5 is phenomenal. So I think the city, as I said, we're never going to be what we were, but I think we have potential to be a lot better than what we are right now.
At one time, we say the 50s and 60s, how great it was. But at one time, prior to that, it wasn't all that great and everything. We were just a farm town way back when. Ken, you obviously must find some satisfaction in dealing with all the problems that a city councilman faces on a daily basis. Do you think you'll continue to remain in public office for the foreseeable future?
Well, at the end of this term, I'll have 18 years in the city of Washington. Washington. 8 years as mayor. And
Has that been consecutive or not?
No, it's not been consecutive. I was out of office from 2012 to 2008 to 2012.
Okay.
I was out of office. So it's not been continuous, but I really feel that my support of the community, my work in the community has been continuous since I got started. So I serve on several boards in the city of Washington, and I feel blessed. I mean, this is where I was born and raised. I just want to give back to the community the best that I can. So I can see myself staying involved, maybe not as a councilman, but staying involved in some other capacity.
So you personally feel invested in the city of Washington then?
I'm born and raised here. I'm 56 years old, and like I say, I can't think of a better place to live, quite frankly.
That's great. I've been here all my life too, and it is a good place. Well, Ken, I see our time is just about up for this edition of Washington Talks. Thank you so very much for coming down and being our guest today.
And thank you, Ron. I really appreciate it. Thanks
Okay.
for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the city of Washington.
And so then, on behalf of Mr. Ken Wescott, City Councilman of the City of Washington, Pennsylvania, this is Ron King saying so long till we catch you next time on Washington Talks.